I'm Eric, 29 years old, and up until last year, I thought I had a handle on what family really meant. Not that cheesy Hallmark card stuff, but the real deal, the kind of family you build your whole life around, even if it means you're carrying more than your fair share of the load. I've always been the quiet type, the responsible son. You know, the one who remembers birthdays and sends flowers, the guy who picks up the pieces when nobody else even notices there's a mess. Thing is, I never thought I'd end up being the backbone of a family that consistently made me feel like I was, well, expendable. That part kinda snuck up on me, happened real slow, like termites under the floorboards, the kind you don't see until the whole damn thing collapses. Growing up, I was right smack in the middle. My older brother, Adam, was the freaking golden boy. Varsity football, charismatic, always had a crowd hanging around. Then there was my younger sister, Mia. She was the princess the minute she was born, no doubt about it. And me? I was the one pulling B pluses, always getting told I wasn't living up to my full potential. Didn't really bother me, to be honest. I just kept my head down, scored a scholarship, moved out, and somehow managed to start my own little IT company. By some kind of miracle, it actually took off after 3 years of grinding ramen noodles, 16-hour days, and getting turned down by every single investor I talked to. The crazy thing is, when I was down in the dumps, they were nowhere to be found. Silent as a tomb. But as soon as the money started rolling in, all of a sudden, I was family again. It started small, you know? My dad asked if I could maybe help out with Adam's car payments, just until he got that promotion he was hoping for. Then it was Mia's private college tuition because, naturally, the financial aid didn't cover enough. After that, my mom needed help with the roof repairs. Then the heating system crapped out. Then she decided she needed that kitchen remodel she'd always dreamed of. And just like that, I was basically supporting 3 freaking households and still getting texts like, "Hey, can you Venmo me for the groceries?" At first, I didn't sweat it. I was just happy I could help out. I even tried to convince myself I was building something, you know, a legacy or something like that. I figured that one day I'd be able to look back and be proud of how I made life better for the people I loved. But something about the way they acted, like they were entitled to it, like I wasn't doing anything special, that started to eat away at me. Last Thanksgiving was the turning point, no question. I ended up hosting it. Not because I wanted to show off or anything, but because I finally had a place big enough to fit everybody. I had the whole thing catered, hired someone to clean up, even set up a nice little fire pit out in the backyard. And did anybody offer to lift a finger? Nope. Not even with the dishes. Adam gives this toast halfway through dinner, talking about how lucky we are to have each other, how family always has your back, never even acknowledging that I was the one paying for the whole dang thing. Mia brings her new boyfriend and barely looks up from her freaking phone. And my dad? He spent the entire evening talking about how tough things were back in his day and how kids these days have it easy. I just swallowed it all down with a smile plastered on my face. But inside, I was already starting to check out. Then came the night that really blew it all apart. It was just a random Tuesday, maybe a couple months later. I just wrapped up a long-ass meeting and came home to a voice message from my dad. And let me tell you, his voice was ice cold. Short, tired, and with that sharp edge only Dad seemed to know how to use. He just flat out said, "All you do is take. You've never given this family anything worth remembering. If you had any damn pride, you'd stop acting like we owe you something and just leave." I was stunned, man. For a second, I thought I'd heard him wrong. So, I played it again. "All you do is take." That's all it said. I didn't yell, didn't call him back, none of that. I just sat there staring at the message for a while, then I walked over to the window and looked out at the city lights, the same lights I used to love. Something just kinda gave way inside me, real quiet, like an old hinge snapping under too much weight. I packed a bag that night and just left. No big dramatic goodbye, no announcing anything. I even told my assistant to freeze all outgoing payments tied to the family accounts. Just a clean, silent break. 3 days went by, then a week. Not a peep. Radio silence. No one called, no one texted. It took them almost a whole month to even notice I was gone. Mia was the first one. She called me late one Friday night, and her voice was shaky as hell. Eric, hey. I just logged into the school portal and my tuition didn't go through this month. Did something happen with the account? I could practically hear the panic she was trying to hide. That fake casual tone you use when you're trying not to sound desperate. I just replied with one text. Thought I never gave this family anything. No follow-up, no explanation, just that. She didn't respond. But within the hour I had 4 missed calls from my mom, 2 from Adam, and 1 from a number I didn't even recognize. The voicemail from my dad? Honestly, it was hilarious in a messed up kinda way. Eric, we need to talk. Whatever this little stunt is, it's not funny. Your sister's future is on the line. No apology, just demands. Just that same old tone that basically said, you owe us. That weekend I hopped on a flight to Denver. I'd never been there, but I needed somewhere far enough away to feel like I'd escaped the earth. I stayed in this little Airbnb overlooking the mountains. Slept better than I had in years. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't check my email, didn't open any messages. I just let the world spin without me. And back home? That's where everything started to unravel. Mia's school sent her a notice about getting kicked out due to non-payment. Adam's car, still unpaid, was repossessed. My parents' mortgage payment bounced. And just like that, the foundation they'd built on my silence cracked wide open. They started reaching out to the extended family, telling their version of the story. How I'd cut them off out of nowhere and abandoned my responsibilities. But the thing is, you can't rewrite a story when too many people already know the truth. And a few of my cousins? They knew. They'd seen the pattern for years. I got a message from one of them, Emma, my mom's niece. She said, I've always admired how patient you are, but I'm glad you finally stopped being their safety net. That message hit me harder than I expected. Because the truth is, I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace. But once you take away the thing they used to control you, once they realize they need you more than you ever needed them, that's when the real sh*t hits the fan. That's when things really start to fall apart. I spent a whole week in Denver, mostly just chillin'. I'd walk to this little coffee shop near the Airbnb every morning, write in my journal for a bit, then just wander around downtown to remind myself what real, uninterrupted peace and quiet felt like. No phone buzzin', no obligations, nobody a skin. Hey, can you just do me one more favor? It was weird at first, how strange that calm felt. Like I had to actually unlearn the habit of bracing myself for someone else's disappointment. By the second week, I'd rented a car and driven out to Boulder. I went for a hike by myself, something I'd always wanted to do but never got around to doing. Because every time I tried to plan a trip, someone in the family needed a freaking bailout. A broken AC, a late credit card bill. Mia even called me once from some fancy resort in Cancun, saying she'd lost her wallet and needed me to wire her emergency cash. That memory popped into my head as I stood at the edge of this cliff trail, wind whipping through my jacket. The whole damn valley was stretched out below me. I just laughed out loud. Really laughed. It echoed off the rocks. It took 3 whole weeks before my mom broke the silence with something more than those passive-aggressive voicemails she'd been leaving. She sent me an email. The subject line? We need you to come home. No greeting, just a long block of text that started with, I don't know what's gotten into you. And spiraled into, your father is furious. Then, we've done so much for you. And ended with, family doesn't abandon family. I stared at it for a long time. Family doesn't abandon family. Except they did. Every time they made me feel like a debit card with a heartbeat. Every birthday they forgot. Every time they took money from me without even a thank you. Every holiday where I sat there in the background while Adam gave his speeches and Mia got showered with gifts. They didn't call that abandonment. They called it tradition. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to my lawyer, Daniel, the guy who'd helped me set up that trust fund years ago. I told him to start the process of transferring the rest of the educational payments to a scholarship program for first-generation college students. The ones who actually needed the help. The ones who wouldn't be Logan behind my back while they drained my bank account. I also asked him to look into who was listed on the deed for the lake house. You know, the one my parents used every summer, the one I'd paid off in full under the false promise that it would be a shared family investment. Turns out my name was still on the paperwork. So I made a decision. That Sunday morning, I booked a flight back home. Not to make up, not to be guilt, but to collect some receipts. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I landed around noon, picked up a rental car, and drove straight to the lake house. The same damn house I'd helped renovate when Dad threatened to sell it unless someone paid to fix the water damage. It looked the same, familiar and fake. Like a movie set built to look like home. As I pulled up the driveway, I saw Adam's old pickup parked outside. I figured he'd moved back in after the repo, which didn't surprise me one bit. I didn't even bother knocking. I just walked right in with the spare key my mom always forgot I had. As soon as I stepped into the living room, I heard voices. "He's just being dramatic," Adam was saying. "He'll come crawling back once he gets over himself." Mia's voice followed, a little softer. "I just don't get why he's doing this. I mean, it's not that much money to him, is it?" My dad grumbled something I couldn't quite make out. Then, loud and clear, "Eric's always been the weakest. Hiding behind his computer. Acting like money makes him special." I just stood there in the hallway, unseen, while they kept ripping me to shreds like the lights weren't even on. I didn't cry, didn't storm in, didn't even feel all that angry. Just confirmation. They never really saw me. Not really. I backed out real quiet and drove back to the lake house. I walked through the front door, took one long look at the open-plan kitchen, that wall of family photos that didn't have a single picture of me on it, and started snapping pictures for the real estate listing. By nightfall, my lawyer had everything he needed to start the ball rolling. That was Saturday. On Monday, I sent one last message in the family group chat. "You said I never gave this family anything. So I'm finally giving you what you've always acted like you wanted, distance. No more tuition. No more car payments. No more roof repairs. Sell your own damn memories. I'm out." Then I left the group chat and blocked them all. I thought that'd be the end of it. But what I didn't realize was just how deep that web of dependence had gone, and how fast it would unravel once I cut every single thread. Because within a week, Mia was looking at getting expelled. Adam? Fired after missing too many shifts trying to figure things out. My parents? Let's just say their bank had some questions about a mortgage they suddenly couldn't afford. And me? Well, I was already halfway to the airport for a new trip. This time Tokyo. First class. No guilt. No strings attached. But the real kicker? What happened the next time they tried to come crawling back? I was somewhere over the Pacific when my phone finally caught up to all the chaos I'd left behind. Dozens of missed calls. Voicemails from numbers I didn't even recognize, probably Mia's friends, or someone trying to talk some sense into me on my family's behalf. There were texts from my dad that seemed to start out as threats, but quickly turned into desperate half-sentences like, "We didn't mean it that way," and, "You're still our son." That one really made me laugh. I didn't listen to a single voicemail, didn't open any of the attachments. I just watched all the notifications stack up like a silent slideshow of panic. It's funny how people who say you've never given anything suddenly remember exactly how much you gave once it's gone. Tokyo was exactly what I needed. Clean. Quiet. Anonymous. I wandered through temples and neon-lit arcades, let my mind breathe in a way I didn't even know was possible. No guilt weighing down my shoulders. No surprise emergencies. For the first time in my life, I was just me. Me. Not someone's backup plan, not the family fixer. 2 weeks into the trip, I finally unblocked just one person, Emma, my cousin. She'd only sent one message during the whole mess. No pleadin', no drama, just, when you're ready to talk, I'm here. Not to convince you, just to listen. I met up with her after I got back. We were sitting in a cafe near her apartment, and she pulls out her laptop. I want to show you something, she says, sliding it across the table. It was a Reddit thread, of all things. Mia had posted, under a throwaway account, a skin for financial help to stay in school after some unexpected family emergency. She told a story that painted me as the unstable one. Said I'd abandoned the family for no reason, claimed I was having a nervous breakdown. People were actually donating money. Strangers. Emma just looked at me, her mouth tight. She's raised almost $6,000 so far. I figured you should know. I stared at the screen, feeling a twist in my gut that wasn't so much anger as it was just plain sadness. There it was again. That same damn story, reshaped to fit the victim role. Only this time, she was doing it publicly, monetizing it, weaponizing strangers' sympathy. And worst of all, she still didn't see what she'd done. That night, I didn't go on some big rant or call her out directly. I did something quieter. I took screenshots of every payment I'd made toward her education, bank transfers, tuition receipts, even that textbook fund I'd wired during her freshman year. I uploaded them all to a private image or album. No names, no dramatic captions, just dates, dollar amounts, and payment confirmations. Then I posted one anonymous comment on the thread. Before you donate, maybe ask where the other $90,000 went. Some people forget who helped them when the help stops. It didn't go viral, didn't need to. But within 24 hours, her post was pulled by the moderators for suspicious activity, and the comments started tinning. That was the first real consequence any of them had faced. The second one came a week later, when I got a certified letter at my office. It was from my dad. Not handwritten, typed out like some legal notice. It started with, "We are formally requesting a meeting to discuss the breakdown of our family dynamic." I almost choked Logan. Like they were trying to hold a board meeting to fix what they broke. But buried in all the legal jargon was the real reason they reached out. They wanted a cut of the money from the lake house sale. Apparently, they believed they had emotional equity in the property. I just passed the letter over to Daniel without a word. He read it, smirked, and said, "Want me to send them a reminder that emotional equity doesn't hold up in court?" I nodded. And then we did one better. We sent a copy of the original agreement my dad had signed years ago when I first offered to pay for the lake house. It clearly stated, in his own words, "I acknowledge that this home is purchased by and remains the property of Eric, last name. I relinquish all future claims." He'd either forgotten about it, or just hoped I had. That letter shut them up real quick. But that silence didn't last long. Not once word got out that I was selling the main house too. See, while I was in Tokyo, Daniel and I had been working on a quiet little side project. Turns out, years ago, I'd loaned my parents a big chunk of money under a verbal agreement when they couldn't keep up with the mortgage. They'd never paid me back. Daniel tracked every deposit, compiled every wire transfer, and we filed a lien on the house. They now owed me well over $80,000, which meant I could legally force a sale. Emma called me that night. "Eric, they're panicking. Your mom called mine in tears. Your dad's threatening to go on social media." I just sighed. "Let him. I've got the receipts. Let's see who wins that PR war." But what I didn't tell her was that I wasn't doing this for revenge anymore. I was doing it for closure. Because what none of them realized was that I had given them everything, my time, my savings, my loyalty, and they mistook it all for weakness. They thought I was a faucet they could just turn on whenever they were thirsty. And now they were learning what thirst really feels like. And yet, the most satisfying moment hadn't even happened yet. Because the day the house went up for auction, I walked through that front door one last time. I parked across the street the morning of the auction. The air had that sharp, stale chill that always hung over our neighborhood in the early fall. I sat in the car for a minute, just watching. It was surreal seeing the home I grew up in, this place that had absorbed so much history, joy, bitterness, now with a small white sign stuck in the front lawn. Notice of foreclosure. Auction today. No trespassing. I got out, hands in my pockets, walking slowly toward the house. The door was already open. Daniel was inside, talking to the auction rep, this middle-aged woman with a clipboard and a no-nonsense look. He nodded when he saw me. "You don't have to be here for this," he said, real gentle. "I want to be." And I did. Not for vengeance, not for the spectacle, but because this moment deserved a witness. Someone to see it, feel it, and make sure it didn't just slip by like everything else I'd swallowed over the years. I walked through the living room, real slow, like I was trying to absorb it all one last time. The dent in the hardwood from when Adam threw a baseball inside. The faded stain on the carpet where Mia spilled nail polish and blamed it on me. The wall where my parents used to pin up report cards and drawings, until they quietly stopped adding mine. It was strange how little of myself I saw there. Like I'd just been a ghost in my own family's story. I stepped into the kitchen next. That one hit harder. I remembered all those late nights helping Mom prep for holiday dinners, scrubbing dishes while she pretended not to hear Dad ranting in the other room. Logan with Emma over burnt pies and undercooked turkeys. And now, it was just a kitchen. A box of walls and forgotten effort. There was a photo still on the counter. One of the whole family, taken 2 Christmases ago, at my expense. I remembered paying the photographer's deposit, the matching outfits they insisted on, and how they cropped me out of the picture when they posted it online. I picked up the photo, looked at it for a long moment, then turned it face down. By noon, a few cars had started to show up. A couple of serious bidders, some curious neighbors, and then finally my family. They pulled up in Dad's old Chevy, all packed in like some messed up family road trip. Mia got out first, her face blotchy, red-rimmed eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses. Adam followed, scowling, clearly just there to play muscle. And then my parents. Mom looked worn down, like she'd aged 10 years since I last saw her. Dad, well, he still walked like he thought he owned the whole damn world. He spotted me instantly. "Eric," he called out, his voice low and bristling. "We need to talk. Now." I didn't move. He strode up to me, Adam trailing a step behind him like a shadow. "You're really doing this?" Dad said. "You're gonna humiliate your own family? Over what, exactly? Some perceived slight?" I looked him right in the eye for the first time in years. "It's not a slight," I said, keeping my voice calm. "It's a pattern. And it ends today. You ungrateful little..." He started. But I just raised my hand. "Don't. Just don't." Mia joined them then, her voice cracking. "I'm gonna lose my scholarship because of this. I had to drop 2 classes already. Why are you doing this to us?" I turned to her. "I paid for your first 3 years. Every tuition bill, every textbook. You never said thank you? Not once. Instead, you let them convince you I was the problem." "I didn't," she started. "You posted online that I was unstable," I said, pulling out my phone. "You lied to strangers for money. And now you want sympathy?" Her face just crumpled. Mom finally spoke, her voice all hoarse. "We're a family, Eric. Families don't do this to each other." "No," I said. "Families don't take like this. You took everything, my time, my money, my trust. And when I stopped giving, you called me selfish." The auctioneer's voice rang out then, sharp and professional. "We'll begin the auction in 5 minutes." Dad looked around, suddenly less sure of himself. "You can't do this. You wouldn't even have this house if it weren't for us." "You're right," I said. "So I'm talking it back." They just stood there, rooted to the driveway, helpless for the first time in years. And I just walked away. The house sold within the hour. A retired couple from out of town, looking for a place near their grandkids. They paid in full. I signed the paperwork, handed Daniel the keys, and never looked back. 3 weeks later, the move-in truck arrived. My parents tried to fight it, claimed they had rights. But the court order was crystal clear. They had 30 days from the date of the sale, no exceptions. They didn't even pack everything, just grabbed what they could and left the rest in piles. Years of clutter, boxes of old trophies, broken appliances, forgotten memories. One of the movers found a journal of mine tucked away in a box labeled junk. It was something from high school. I flipped through it. Every page was filled with goals: get into college, start a business, buy a house, take care of my family. Funny how none of those dreams turned out the way I thought they would. I donated the furniture, trashed the rest. Emma helped me wrap up the whole estate. She was the only one who stayed neutral through it all, the only one I truly trusted. When it was all over, she gave me a long hug. "You did the right thing," she whispered. "Even if it doesn't feel like it yet." And she was right. It didn't feel good, not in the usual sense. There was no triumphant victory, no climactic confrontation with slow clap and applause. Just silence. A sharp, echoing silence that slowly gave way to peace. I moved shortly after that, bought a loft in a different city. Smaller, simpler, but mine. No secret bills, no guilt. The calls eventually stopped, the emails dried up. And over time, even the bitterness faded away. I didn't hate Em. I just disconnected. Like finally cutting the last thread of some frayed rope that had been dragging me underwater for years. One night, I was sitting out on my balcony, sipping some tea, watching the lights flicker in the building across the street. I thought about that last Thanksgiving, about the toast Adam gave, about the way they all smiled like they were in some commercial, completely unaware that the glue holding them together was already cracking. And I realized something: they were never really a family. They were a system. A system that only worked as long as I stayed silent, stayed useful, stayed small. And now they had to learn how to stand without me. I got a message a few months later. An email from Mia. I don't expect a response. I just wanted to say, I get it now. And I'm sorry. I read it twice, then one more time. And then I archived it. Not out of spite, but because I no longer needed closure from them. I already had it from myself. And for the first time in my life, that was enough.